Hello there, this is Tim Skinner here at Africacom 2015, and today I'm speaking with Emeka Mba, who's the Director General for the National Broadcasting Corporation in Nigeria. Emeka, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
I understand that you spoke at Africascom this week, so would you like to just tell us a little bit more about your keynote?
Well, essentially what I came to do was just to give a snapshot of where we are in Nigeria with regards to the digital broadcasting transition, the different elements of our transition, and what are the challenges, and just to share notes with other operators, what the challenges are, what the opportunities are. I think for us in Nigeria, it's quite a significant market. We've got a TV household of close to 26 million, and that's the largest on the continent. We have the most diverse broadcasting market. Over 430 radio and TV channels licensed by my commission. So when you think of
sizable.
when you think of sizable, that is size, and different levels of ownership of the market. So you got government ownership, you got private ownership, and each of these players, everybody wants to have a piece of the digital future. But the reality is, of course, being what digital is it's also transformative but equally disruptive. So and just really to share what we're doing from the content perspective, from the set-top box perspective, from the infrastructure signal distribution perspective. And it was quite an interesting chat with different players yesterday. Yeah.
Okay, so clearly you operate in a very sizable and a significant market, and I understand that you're in the midst of a digital sort of switchover, if you will. How's that going at the moment? What's the progress on that?
It's slow, it's steady, it's very, but I think the most important thing is that it's deliberate. The way we focus on the digital switchover is that we see it not just a transition for the benefit of technology, because technology is possible, but really to create a bigger broadcasting market, to use technology in such a way that it opens up a broadcasting and a content market in such a way that there will be more players, more diversity, that we can really take the benefit of digital technology to create a much more sustainable ecosystem for everyone, for all the players, from the infrastructure side of things to the content guys, to everyone in the business. I think that's really the key challenge in terms of managing all these different actors. But I always say to my colleagues, one of the ways of doing this is to make sure that everyone from the three sides, from set-top box, from content, from infrastructure, that they see a benefit in this future. You know what I mean? That they all understand that my working to go digital is beneficial to my sector or to my business, and I think that's really the big challenge. But so far it's going well. We're launching a pilot before the end of the year in Jos. We've got the set-top boxes in place now. We've got content. We're launching as a pilot the first one MOX with 16 channels, which is huge, considered that before in most cities in Nigeria people have access to only 4 channels. Yeah. And now we're talking 16 channels, both local, regional, national, and a few international channels, which was not there before. Right. And so that's significant. Ultimately, we're going to go up to 32 channels on the digital terrestrial, and with maybe close to maybe 60, 80, perhaps even 100 channel, because we have a hybrid model. So we do DTT and we also do DTH as both as an infield, but also as a separate product. Yeah. Okay,
and you mentioned there a lot of the different elements of the broadcasting industry in Nigeria, and I suppose one of the things we've been seeing a lot in the industry is the role of the telecoms operator entering the broadcasting industry. So, what's your experience of that in Nigeria, and where do you see that going for the industry?
I think that trend is going to continue, but I think we also have to be careful that there's still 2 markets. When people talk about convergence, I ultimately say the consumer still sees a distinction between his use of a mobile phone for communication and his consumption of content, whether it be linear television or other forms of content consumption. He still sees fundamentally 2 markets: the market for telecommunications and the market for broadcasting, and this will remain. I think even in more established markets, the UK and America and so on and so forth, you still find a market for communications or telecommunications or mobile telephony and a market for broadcasting services. These two things, even though technology has converged them, they're still fundamentally separate in terms of the economics, in terms of the dynamics of the market, and most important in terms of how consumers perceive those things. But in our market, we've seen it's happening. Most broadcasters now are on YouTube. They have streaming services. Nigeria is pretty, and I say most African countries are very forward-looking. So we're using technology to leapfrog. It's a big player in our market. We've recently licensed them to provide converged digital broadcasting services. They paid a significant amount of money for that opportunity. $171 million. That is perhaps the highest we've seen so far, at least in my business, for an investment in that converged broadcasting space. So it's happening, but I think they also have to be careful that they distinguish between the telecommunication services that they do and broadcasting services. The two, from a market definition point of view, are not the same thing. Even though devices and everything, was converging those services, but I think, one has to be careful not to confuse both things.
Sure. Yeah. And how do you see the market evolving over the next few years? And we've talked about this trend of convergence, although the two distinct markets still remain. How do you see the broadcasting, the content delivery markets being evolved over the next 3 to 5 years?
I think ultimately, I think the broadcast content market is getting smart. It's getting smarter at being able to use technology and use telecommunications to reach consumers. Because one thing that digital does and dates and its ability to use data in a very, very definitive way, and that's where the internet and where the telecommunications guy is coming. And I think content players, and you look at it, not just the international players like Netflix, but even smaller players in different countries. In my country, for example, we have a guy called Iroko TV. He's doing fantastic. He started from YouTube channel, now he has his own platform.
Right.
And he's doing wonderful. And I think you'll see other players, because again, the truth is, there are no barriers to entry when it comes to digital, really. The barriers are very, it's almost, doesn't exist to a large extent. So I think broadcasters and content players are beginning to really say, you know what, I think I can use the technologies that are present today and what's going to come tomorrow to get to consumers wherever they want it, however they want it. And that's going to continue. And I think not just in Nigeria, but I think all across Africa, people in the villages, if they have a mobile phone, not just having a Skype call with their kids abroad, but being able to, watch a local masquerade dance or say, you know what, can I even see what happened in the news? So people are going to use mobile telephony and mobile communications a lot more to consume a lot more video.
Yeah.
And I think that also will play well for the telecommunications company, because they make a lot more money from the data usage. But again, the fact remains that the two different things.
Yeah.
When I'm using my phone to watch something, I understand that this is what I'm watching. I'm watching something. But when I'm making a call or I'm SMSing or I'm going on the internet, the way people consume things, maybe it will change in the future, but I think the market still remains substantially, separated.
Okay. And just finally then, we're here at Africacom and TV Connect Africa. I'm just curious to gain your thoughts on how you think events such as this and meeting places for various industries, how they help further development of these industries.
This is, you're asking someone who loves to come to this kind of event. So, because I think it's a huge opportunity to, when people say network, that's very cloudy, but I think it's a huge opportunity to learn. Yeah. Really. And that you can have, it's one thing to send an email to someone or have a But when you eventually sit down with the person and say, what's going on in your country, what's going on in your market, how can I play? You build a network of relationships, because ultimately everything about business is relationships.
Sure.
That I've met you, that I know you, that I can look you in the eye, I can shake your hand and say, let's do business.
Yeah.
And I think that's what platforms like this creates, that opportunity to get to know the players in the industry. I've had people who thought I was something else, and they met me and was, oh, I didn't know you could be a nice guy. Because sending email sometimes paints a different picture.
Totally.
So this is a wonderful platform, and I think we need more of such platforms. Actually, we need, I think Africacom is doing a great thing. They're in West Africa, they're in Nigeria. I was there in the Nigeria Com event. So I think we need such events to grow and to connect people, and to create that that network of relationships, which I think ultimately will benefit consumers and our economies down the line.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us today.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah.